I give 2024 a good out of 10 rating when it comes to games. If you're a fan of gaming, from the games, events, and announcements and other stuff relating to it, this year has been pretty good. Sure, for the general mainstream, there haven't been as many groundbreaking new releases or reveals, but everything has just been really solid. One thing I can't really grasp my head around this year is the opinion that some people have in calling this year a filler year. I mean, I do get that in 2023 we were really spoiled for massive AAA releases like every week, and with 2025 on the horizon, which already has a stacked lineup, it does make 2024 look weak. But just think about the games that have released this year from the major publishers and developers, because we've had some bangers this year. The first major release that I think went under the radar for a lot of people was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Still 7 months into 2024, I think it still stands as one of the best games released this year, just being an incredible action-packed Metroidvania that has incredible style in its presentation and just as much substance to back it up. And then not even a week later, we got the new Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth and Tekken 8, two brand new releases in well-established franchises. Now, I haven't played either, one because I've never played a Like a Dragon game yet, and Tekken isn't my preferred fighting game series, but the fans love them. Both have sold record numbers, and Tekken 8 was popular from the get-go and had an astronomically high amount of entrants at this year's EVO fighting game tournament for a brand new game. Even the critics love them, where both of these games ranked 7th and 8th on the highest rated games released this year on OpenCritic. February was just as strong, having one of my favorite games from this year in Persona 3 Reload, which was also the first game this year to kick off Atlas's spree of great games to come this year, which I'll be talking about in a video later on. And staying on the JRPG trend, we also got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which for a lot of people is the current frontrunner for Game of the Year. Me personally, I'm still thinking about whether it is or not, but one thing is certain is that it's a much better game than its predecessor, and just an incredible game all around. But probably the biggest surprise of 2024 was Helldivers 2, the biggest release of the year so far. It's done everything a live service game should do, with great gameplay loop and very light on the in-game purchases and very transparent with their community. They're even dropping a new update which is out today if I'm not mistaken. And as the months passed, we still kept getting notable releases: Dragon's Dogma 2, Rise of the Ronin, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Remake, Hellblade 2, Stellar Blade, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Vengeance, and of course the behemoth, which is Elden Ring's expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree. Man, that expansion is basically the size of a brand new game, but I'll still count it as an expansion and leave it off my Game of the Year list come the end of the year, even though how much I love the journey through the realm of Shadow. But I think this can give you a general view on that AAA stuff that is released this year, because it's been really solid. It's no 2023, but it's just a very high bar all over. However, I do have to go over some of the negatives that have plagued this year, and it all starts with the corporate roles in gaming. Gaming companies have a serious problem with layoffs as of late, and that's thanks to the corporate. Like, these top CEOs are earning so much money that they could disperse their own wages to other sectors in the company to keep them afloat, but no, they just decide to fire devs. The CEO of EA earns a grand total of $25.6 million, yet EA laid off 670 of their employees back in February. You don't see this happen in Japanese-based companies due to them having more employee protection laws, but more people should follow the footsteps of the late Satoru Iwata, former president of Nintendo, who took a cut from his own salary during the tough times during the Wii U era to help out Nintendo when they were struggling. But with that, let's take a lightning round of the layoffs that have happened this year. Post-recording note. So this is me after the original recording, and Bungie laid off 220 employees, and Game Informer, one of the most iconic gaming publications, has been shut down by its owner, GameStop. Sadly, this trend doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon, but back to the scheduled transmission. January, Riot Games, 530 laid off staff. Microsoft's gaming division, 1,900. Eidos Montreal, 100 people laid off. March, Sega America, 61. April, Rockstar Games plans to reduce its workforce as the months go on, and then there's the big bad of gaming, Embracer Group, who a few years back decided to buy out many gaming studios but don't have the capacity to keep them running. From June 2023 to May 2024, these guys have laid off a grand total of 4,532 employees. How many of them happened in 2024, I can't confirm, but it shows that there's a problem with buying studios to compete rather than focusing on building what you have. And this is where Microsoft comes in, who broke the hearts of many this year with their layoffs. I've got some good stuff to say about them later in the video, but for now, let's talk about what happened in May. I remember opening Twitter in May and seeing the news that Microsoft had closed down 3 studios and merged another into ZeniMax Online. So studios usually get shut down when the games underperform, right? So let's see where they were. First, we have Alpha Dog Games, which were the devs behind the mobile game Mighty Doom, which was a pretty fun to being a mobile game. Next we have Arcane Austin, one of the geniuses behind the first Dishonored game and creators of the underrated Prey 2017. However, they did also develop one of the flops of 2023, being Redfall. It really sucks that a studio with this much talent in the immersive sim genre has now been wiped out, and it shows that the problem with Microsoft's approach to continuously buying out studios. And then these guys at Microsoft decided to shut down Tango Gameworks, the devs behind the Evil Within series, Ghostwire Tokyo, and one of the best games of 2023, Hi-Fi Rush. These guys have not released a bad game at all, and out of the studios that were shut down in May, Tango was the most successful. So why were they shut down? Well, just 2 days after the announcement of its closure, one of the main people at Xbox, Matt Booty, says that, simply put, we need smaller games that can get awards. Is there any game in Xbox's library that fills out this criteria? Yes. Hi-Fi Rush. Heart goes out to all the talented devs out there who got laid off, and hope that they find stable work soon. Now, to be a bit more positive, just slightly, compared to last year, there also aren't as many disappointing game releases this year, or just straight up bad games. Yes, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin did not live up to the hype that their fans expected, or at least that's how I see it when reading online discourse about them. The biggest flop or bad game of this year was Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It is another live service game made by a studio that specializes in single player experiences, so I guess it came a bit out of left field for its fans, and the game was received quite poorly for atrocious monetization and just not having enough content to keep players coming back. So that was the biggest miss of the year. But now with all that, let's get back into the good stuff. Indie games. Indie games have been stacked this year, and we're still halfway through the year. Pacific Drive, a horror survival game where you drive a car. Another Crab's Treasure being the happiest Souls-like with a blend of 3D platformers. Crow's County being reminiscent of classic survival horror titles. Penny's Big Breakaway, a 3D platformer from the creators of Sonic Mania. And Tales of Kenzira, a Metroidvania with a heavy narrative focus. There have also been great early access releases through the Rogue Prince of Persia from the creators of Dead Cells, and one of my most anticipated games ever, Hades 2. Hades 2 is one of the best games that I've played this year, but I'll wait until its 1.0 release before solidifying my opinion on it. But the two best indie games I played this year, those go to Balatro and Animal Will. Balatro is like Vampire Survivors in a way, where it's just a game that keeps you engaged for the constant dopamine the game hits you with. Playing poker with a twist, with jokers that give you new buffs, leveling up cards, and building the best hands is just a really great gameplay loop. And poker bosses that put a handicap on you? Nice. And then there's Big Mode, Video Game Donkey's publishing label, who published Animal Will. I already talked extensively about Animal Will in a video already, so I'll link it if you want to hear my thoughts about it, but in short, it's really weird, but really good. There's still also 5 months left of 2024, with lots of games being announced in the past months for both this year and next year. What big games do I have on my radar for the remainder of the year? Well, there is Astrobot, Sony's big and only title slated for September, Metaphor ReFantazio by Atlas, which is like Persona but in a super fantasy setting, and you could probably guess, but I'm a Sonic fan, so the new Sonic X Shadow Generations is also on my radar. There's also Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I'm pretty excited to see how it will unfold. And then there is the Nintendo stuff. Yes, the Switch is on its last breath, like actually. The head of Nintendo said the successor won't be out until at least the next fiscal year, but for a system on its last legs, it's still getting more exclusives than the PS5. In their June Direct, Nintendo pulled out a new Mario Party, new Mario and Luigi game, and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, where you play as Zelda for the first time, and also announced the Dragon Quest 1-3 remakes and the Marvel v Capcom Fighting Collection. And to finish off, finally showed off my most anticipated game for 2025, Metroid Prime 4. This game looks beyond incredible, and its release date is probably going to be the release date for the Switch successor. Xbox also wasn't playing around at their Xbox showcase. They showed off gameplay for games such as the new Dragon Age, Stalker 2, Avowed, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, some of which are slated for this year. They also finally revealed gameplay for games that haven't been seen in a long time, like Fable and Perfect Dark. Expedition 33, a new turn-based combat game, was also revealed here, which looked incredible. But the biggest game, Doom: The Dark Ages, coming to all platforms in 2025. I'm not much of a Doom guy, but medieval Doom, sign me up. Also interesting to see if this is going to be Microsoft's trend of going multi-plat, but overall, great showcase from both these two companies. Summer Game Fest also happened, it was decent, and Sony, well, let's say that they're going to have to show us a PlayStation showcase pretty soon, because for a console entering its 4th year on the market, it's looking pretty dry. But man, I'm hyped for the rest of this year, and especially how 2024 will transition into 2025. PS5 Pro might be coming soon, a potential Switch successor looming on the horizon, GTA 6, Death Stranding 2, Monster Hunter Wilds, Pokemon Legends ZA, Prime 4. You know, 2024 might not be an all-time great, but it's still just really solid, like I said at the start, and that's about it. So thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day, night, and week, and with that, Storm out.